Mary. They're the ones that went in and stole Jesus' body and then just told everybody that he had been raised. No. They weren't even expecting his resurrection. That's the last thing that they were thinking about. It wasn't even on their radar. And we see that proved in our lesson this week. So look with me, if you would, in John chapter 20, beginning with verse 1. It says, early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from its entrance. So she came running to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one Jesus loved, and said, they have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have put him. Okay, well, what we do know is it's the third day. It's now Sunday. Jesus was crucified on Friday. It's now Sunday. It was early in the morning, probably dark. It was probably just dawn. And Mary and the other Gospels tell us that the other women went with Mary the first time that she went to the tomb. They're going to the tomb because their plan is to finish the burial process for Jesus that Joseph and Nicodemus didn't have time to finish. But Luke records that even they were not expecting Jesus' resurrection, because on the way to the tomb, they're talking about, gosh, I hope we're going to be able to move this big stone that's in front of the entrance. So you can imagine, as they arrived at the tomb, how completely and utterly shocked they were to see that the stone was rolled away. Interestingly, they didn't even look inside. They just said immediately what went through their mind is he's gone, someone's taken him. So they thought, well, either somebody's moved his body or the tomb, his body has been stolen, in other words, by grave robbery. Now that isn't something that we see in our day today, but it was very common in Jesus' day, and especially because he was buried, remember we learned last week, with 75 pounds of spices. That was expensive. And so oftentimes people would go in there and they would steal the bodies to get all the spices out of it too, which is a terrible thing, but that's what happened back then. So when Mary and the women saw that the stone was rolled away, they immediately assumed that Jesus' body had been taken. I find it so interesting that the disciples, these women, all of Jesus' followers, the fact of his resurrection was not even a thought in their head. You know what Matthew tells us? Matthew tells us that after Jesus died, the chief priests, the rulers, and teachers of the law went to Pilate. And they said, listen, we know that this guy Jesus, he told his followers that after he died in 3 days, he was going to be raised from the dead. You need to send some soldiers to guard that tomb, because we don't want him to rise from the dead. We don't want him getting out of there, because that would give further credence to his following and to his words. The ones who didn't even believe in him believed his words, but not these people. So we see Mary and the women, they start running, and they come to Simon Peter, and they come to John, and they tell them what has happened. Look with me, if you would, in verse 3. So Peter and the other disciple started for the tomb. Now, you do know when it says the other disciple and the disciple that Jesus loved, that's always John, the writer of this gospel. It says, both were running, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent over and looked at the strips of linen lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came along behind him and went straight into the tomb. He saw the strips of linen lying there, as well as the cloth that had been wrapped around Jesus' head. The cloth was still lying in its place, separate from the linen. We know that John was probably younger than Peter, and that's why John got there before Peter did. He outran him. But didn't you love in the lesson this week talking about the different personalities that we all have? Some of the children's speakers said that they loved that in their classes, and we were talking about even amongst our own children, how wonderful each personality is, because God uses every personality in such a wonderful way. But we see two very distinctly different personalities in Peter and in John. John, the writer of the gospel, was very meditative. He was quiet. He was the person who observed everything. He was one who took note of everything, probably very analytical. We know that because he writes in a very orderly way. Apparently, when he got to the tomb first, he looked in, and what he saw in the tomb stopped him in his tracks. Because he saw Jesus' linen, and it was as if his body had evaporated out of it or passed through it, because it was laying in the place where Joseph and Nicodemus had left him, but it was completely flat. And then he saw where the wrappings of Jesus' head had been folded orderly and neatly and placed in that spot as well. So what what John knew is beyond a shadow of a doubt this was not a grave robbery. Because if you were robbing the grave, first of all, I doubt you'd take the linens off, the little yucky to do that. But secondly,